Hey, what's happening? What's happening? This is R.C. Blakes, and I am so excited to be able to again talk to you, and I pray that all is well with you. That is my sincere prayer, that all is well with you. I have something that I want to discuss tonight, and this may not be, we may not be so long tonight, because it's really just a conversation that I want to have. It's not really a lesson per se, but it's something that's concerning. And before we get into that, let me first of all say to you, I'm no counselor, I'm no therapist, I'm just a man, I'm a preacher, I'm a pastor, I'm an author, and I have some opinions about life that I love to share. If you need counseling, you will find in the description a link for BetterHelp, which is a counseling agency that really sponsors what we do here. I believe in them, so I encourage you, when you need professional counseling, to go to them. When you use that link, it'll afford you 10% off, and they will in turn bless the ministry. So if that's something that works for you, look into it. Also, don't forget to stop by my website, rcblakes.com, and sign up for my mailing list. If you've not registered for Kingology, which is happening in just some weeks, for men, October the 10th, 2020, you need to do that. Queenology, the second part of Queenology 2.0, the training for reigning, is also available for registration. That's happening in December of 2020. So just some things that I want to say before we get started. I want to talk about how a woman's broken consciousness may sabotage good relationships or potentially good relationships. How does a woman's broken consciousness bring her to a place where she's actually perpetuating her relational failure or failures and does not even realize it? Well, let's start off with some definition. What is broken consciousness? Broken consciousness is when the woman has been so battered, abused, and misused by the systems of life, from religion to entertainment, to academia, even to the basic family structure. The message has been driven into the woman that somehow she's inferior because she's female. And the next message that is piled up on top of that is that the only way for her to have worth is to be in proximity to a man. So she equates worthiness with her relationship to a man, even if that relationship is abusive or unhealthy. The third message that's piled up on that is that she has to perform to be valuable. And this performance, 99% of the time, comes back to sexual. And so the woman grows up believing these lies, and she formulates an entire psychology around philosophies that enslave her. We call this female slave conditioning. It's where a perverted male society intentionally takes a little girl's mind and begins to twist it. And the older she gets, it begins to twist it even the more, so that when she becomes a grown woman, society can manage the woman with triggers. And so you'll find a woman with broken consciousness who's been female slave conditioned, moved by triggers. A man knows that he can get your attention and more than likely control you if he says to you, I'm leaving. Because in your broken consciousness, for a man to separate from you means that you're losing your identity and your worth. Or a man says to you, you're fat, or you're ugly. Nobody wants you. Nobody wants you. Well, that's a trigger that your female slave conditioning has produced this broken consciousness that responds to that kind of language in a way that you'll end up apologizing to a man that's done everything to harm you, and you've done everything to please him. You'll end up apologizing to him for being too fat or being too ugly. Of course you're not, but it's the system that you've been raised in as a woman. And it's so significant. This broken consciousness, female slave conditioning thing is so very serious that I would say most of the pushback that I may get comes from women. I mean, that may be hard to believe, but most of the pushback that I get comes from women. You know, I have this thing that I do in the church where I talk to women in ministry, you know, wisdom for women in ministry. Those of you that may be women in ministry, you should probably check out my online course, Wisdom for Women in Ministry. But you would think that, you know, I would get a lot of male leaders that would come against just that concept of women being vessels to preach the gospel or declare the good news of Jesus Christ. No, the reality is that 95, 98% probably of the people that might have a thumbs down on that message are women. When I'm bringing the message directly from the Bible and I'm speaking to the empowerment of women, it's women that have been so conditioned. Women actually say a woman can't lead. A woman shouldn't preach. A woman shouldn't, speak the message. It's that I never understood it before, but as I've grown and as I've gone deeper, I'm realizing that this has been the female slave conditioning that has produced the broken consciousness that the woman is incapable of even seeing herself for all she's worth. And so when you're living with this reality, that more than likely you're suffering from one extent to another from this thing called broken consciousness, you have to simultaneously understand that you're probably impacting your failure or your failures in developing healthy relationships. That all of your not having found a healthy relationship with a great man is not due to age, it's not due to geography, it's not necessarily due to all of these other things that you might imagine, but some of this has a lot to do with the psychology that you live with based on the female slave conditioning that you have endured, which has produced your broken consciousness. Because you don't know who you are, when someone approaches you on your truest level, you don't necessarily know how to respond. And the saddest reality is that you may respond in ways that will repel the very thing you're praying for. In other words, if you don't get your mind together, you may live your life in a way that the very kind of man that you're praying to step into your life, when he comes, you may push him away. The Bible says in Hebrews 12:15, it says, looking diligently lest any man fail of the grace of God, lest any root of bitterness, this is one of my favorite texts, lest any root of bitterness springing up trouble you, and thereby many be defiled. What he's talking about there is if we do not rectify the pains of our past, those pains will pop up at the most inopportune time and wreck a brilliant future. And if we don't deal with, for some of you, this is your first time ever hearing even a conversation around the things that I'm talking about. And this is the pain that women live with every day. But if that pain is not dealt with, and if that root of bitterness is not pulled up, and some say, well, I'm not bitter, I'm not angry. Sometimes you're bitter and angry and don't realize you are. Sometimes your anger has, turned into, things like, what do we call it? I'm an introvert, meaning you live like a hermit. You stay inside, you don't talk to anybody, you don't go anywhere. Many times that's anger manifesting itself in some indirect fashion. Sometimes your anger is manifested. Okay, I'll give you a real life example. I've been walking lately, trying to just really get a handle on my health. And so I have this trail I walk, which is like 2 miles around. And so I walked for 2 miles the other day, and for a couple of days last week, I paid attention. I said, now I'm going to see how many women that I pass by will say hello, will make eye contact, smile, because, I'm always talking to women, and women talking about, I can't meet a man. The man never approaches me. So I said, let me just see. And do you not know, if I would venture to say, if I pass by 20 women on that trail, and I mean, we're going opposite directions. So at some point we should come eye to eye. If I pass by 20, 18 of them did not smile, did not look up, did not speak. Now, because I do what I do, I realize that this does not speak to their character or their kindness as a woman. But what it does say to me is that there are a lot of unresolved issues when a human being can be in a space where other humans are, and you're not well adjusted enough to look and make eye contact with a person and say, good afternoon, hello. That said something to me, that we have a lot of women who are dealing with this root of bitterness, and it's springing up, troubling you more than you even realize. In fact, many of you don't realize it at all. You may be thinking about it now that we're having this conversation, that you may be at the driver's seat of all of the relational failure you're having. That it could very well be that good, godly men have come into the circle, but you have not been whole or healed enough to actually engage. Well, let me just share these 1, 2, 3, 4 talking points, and then I'm done. And I just want to share them and I'm done. Number one, when you're struggling with broken consciousness as a woman, one of the things that I've discovered, in dealing with so many women, from all walks of life, black, white, Asian, Hispanic, whatever, European, American, all kinds of women in their 60s, women in their 20s, all kinds of women. One of the things I have discovered is that when you're struggling with broken consciousness, it will make you reject respectable treatment as unattractive. When you have been conditioned by a culture that is underwritten by toxic masculinity, this culture perverts your psychology as a woman to a point that you will reject respectable treatment from a man and you'll call it unattractive. Your female slave conditioning has trained you that misogyny is manhood. In other words, you are, watch this now, you have become so toxic, you are moved by hateful masculine energy, and you call it attractive. So if a man calls you a B, I can't even bring myself to say it, you respond because that's what the culture has trained you to do. You know, if a man screams at you and gets aggressive with you, you call your girlfriends later and say, child, he put me in my place. I tell you what, he's a real man. He's a real man. He's a real man to become aggressive and almost look like he might become physically violent with you, and you hanging around talking about he's a real man. That's that toxic, that's that broken consciousness. That's that female slave conditioning that's at work in you, and you don't even realize it. Now, another man will say, good morning. Hello, how are you? Opening doors for you. I can open the door for myself. You know, even in traveling, as much as I do when things are normal, I really had this, and listen to my language, I had this habit as a classical man of, you know, when traveling, I would reach for the ladies' bags and I would put their bags overhead. I noticed that a lot of guys just sit there and look at them. And I would be, you ain't no man. Until I started discovering how many women got offended, literally got offended by me reaching for their bag. I mean, jerk the bag up. I can handle my own bag. I said, well, God bless you. Handle your own bag. And I started realizing that the psychology of this modern woman is so twisted that she's offended by chivalry. She's offended by a gentleman. Now, could that be you? Am I describing you? Are you the kind of woman that rejects respectable treatment and you view it as unattractive? You know, a man that approaches you like a decent man approaches a decent woman, you say he ain't got enough, you know, swag or whatever y'all call it. You know, he comes up and he says, hello, you know, may I, you know, can we get coffee? You know, he's not coming at you all sexual, looking at you up and down, looking like he's looking through your clothes, looking under your clothes. He's coming to you, looking you eye to eye, and he's asking a simple question, can we get coffee? And you going back, I ain't going nowhere with him. He's a square. He's a square. But is that really just your broken consciousness, watch this, working against you? You got to think this. You got to think about this now. You have to think about this. Listen to what the Bible says in Romans 12:2. It says, and be not conformed to this world, this culture, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. See, why does the mind have to be renewed? It's because the world has pre-programmed you for failure. Now you have to allow the Word of God to renew your mind that you may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. You need your brain washed. You need a thought overhaul. You need your mind renovated, because you may very well be the kind of woman that views respectable treatment as unattractive. And you leave a man that has a job, loves God, respects you, is mild-mannered, and you reject him and go around the corner, and a man whose pants are hanging off of his behind and all of his drawers out, underwear for whatever side of the track or part of the world you're from, you know, not even groomed properly, probably hadn't even taken a decent bath, smelling like cigarettes and a whole lot of other stuff you smoke, smelling like liquor, and screaming from across the street, talking about how fat your derriere is, and there you giggling, you think that's attractive, and this guy can get your time and attention. You have to stop for a minute, and you have to realize something's seriously wrong with you. And the last thing you need right now is another relationship. You need an intervention. You need a counselor. You need a therapist, because you need to find yourself. You will reject. Okay, you're gonna reject the prince because you're attracted to the frog. You see how twisted that mentality is? You reject the prince because you want the frog. That's your broken consciousness sabotaging. Number two, your broken consciousness as a woman may be sabotaging your relationships in this wise. It makes you leave husband material in the friend zone. I did a video the other day on Instagram. I said, you know, I was being funny, clowning. I said, I know where your husband is. You want to know? You want to know? I know where your husband is. You want to know? Everybody said, I want to know. I know where you left him at. Where did I leave him? You left your husband in the friend zone. You'd be amazed at how many men that have never made a romantic push towards you, but have been in your circle, just love being in your company, just spend hours in conversation with you. These guys are not gay. These guys don't have relationships. When you see a man spending that much time with you and loving to talk with you and is always available for you and is just like a great friend, you may very well be looking at your husband, but your broken consciousness won't allow you to recognize him. Your broken consciousness will not allow you to see him for who he is. Now watch this. And I hear some of you saying, well, he's a friend, he's just a friend. Well, I've been married 25 years and I have a successful marriage. I have a successful marriage. And can I tell you that the foundation of our relationship is that we are friends, is that I love talking with her, I love hanging out with her. Come on now. It was the beginnings of our relationship, and it has been the lifeline of our relationship. So why would you not be able to at least consider a man that is a good friend, that there's a possibility this could make for a great relationship and ultimately possibly a marriage? It's because your broken consciousness says that any man that is well adjusted enough to be your friend cannot be your lover. Because you think about it, the men you're attracted to, they are aloof, they are emotionally unavailable, They are difficult to talk to. They don't have much conversation. You spend most of your time almost tracking them down, running behind them. They're not really available to you. That's the way society has trained you. And now your broken consciousness is sabotaging. You see, your broken consciousness limits your perception. In other words, you can imagine beyond your internal belief system. See, subconsciously, there's a conversation going on within you that says, I deserve this, I deserve that, I deserve that. And when you look at a man that is a real man and is a great friend and could make a great partner or husband, subconsciously, you don't realize it, but there's a voice inside of you saying, you don't deserve that. And so you can't appreciate a quality man because your subconscious settings have been programmed for dogs. And I know some of you all are probably getting angry with me, but really, if I don't make you angry sometime, I'm not really doing my job for you. Listen to what the Bible says in Matthew 7:6. It says, give not that which is holy unto the dogs, neither cast ye your pearls before swine, lest they trample them under their feet and turn again and rend you or tear you apart. Now, here's the sad thing. There are many great guys that are casting their pearls. You know, they're trying to do everything they can just to get you to show some kind of interest. And you're missing it. And you know why you're missing it? When he says, give not that which is holy unto the dogs, neither cast ye your pearls before swine. It's because the nature of these beasts does not allow them to recognize or appreciate value. And many of you email me and you said, oh, I wish you could do some matchmaking for me. The reality is that a lot of y'all would not want the man I would choose for you because your nature does not allow you to recognize or appreciate value. Now you take that same dog and you cast diamonds and pearls to him, you know, he'll bury it somewhere, lose it or whatever. Take that same dog. In fact, he probably won't even pay attention to the diamonds and the pearls. Take that same dog, throw a bone at him, a leftover bone, and he gonna cherish that because that's the level his nature allows him to appreciate. Take that same hog, throw those pearls and swine or pearls and diamonds at the pig. You know, he gonna ignore that. Give him a pool of mud, he gonna bathe in that. He's gonna appreciate it. Why? Because his nature allows him to appreciate on that level. And sometimes your broken consciousness is preventing you from really appreciating the pearls and the diamonds that God is bringing in your proximity. Fact about it, some of you, when you get free and you really get delivered, you're going to look back over your life and you're going to discover that you left 2 or 3 great husbands in the friend zone because you just didn't know. And these guys are not the kind of guys that's just going to come straight on out at you. They have too much respect for you. So they're going to drop these hints that, you know, not subtle hints, real hints. Man spending all day with you. Every time man come in town, he trying to, you know, spend time with you. This is not subtle. This is just a man that's trying to say, okay, let me see if she's open, and you never open up. Number 3, when you are struggling with this broken consciousness, not only will it make you reject respectable treatment, not only will it make you leave husband material in the friend zone, number 3, it will make you weak for men that have rejected you. probably the biggest problem, is that when you're struggling with broken consciousness, there is a soul tie quite often that is connected to you. And watch this. If that soul tie is not specifically enforced with the individual that it was created with, it has left an impression on you that you are attracted to the same kind of man. And so even though you've left that man, or he left you, or however it ended, you are still attracted to the same kind of guy, so you keep getting the same outcome. And so you can't appreciate a next level type guy because your total and complete focus is on a man that you can perpetuate your soul tie with. It makes you weak for that kind of guy. You know, I was watching this show. It's kind of ridiculous, but you know, hey, I watch shows that I can look and peep into the mindset of people. I like to see how people think, and I forget the name of this show, but it's a show where these women and sometimes men are hooking up with people in prison, and then the people come out of prison and they trying to figure out how they gonna make an actual relationship work. And I don't know if I've seen one on there that actually worked yet. Maybe one or two actually. But this particular lady took this boy in from out of jail, and this boy is just playing this woman, using her for her money and all of this kind of thing. And it's clear, you know, anybody that's well adjusted could look and see that this boy is just here to use this woman, spend her money, use her house, have an address for parole, all this kind of thing. And so finally the boy just constantly breaking her heart. And finally, you know, I don't think the boy gone. I think she's just having a mad moment, but she talking to her sister the other day, and she says the sister, she's gonna become a pen pal with another prisoner. You're gonna do it again? She gonna do it again. And she says, at least I'll know where he's at. Okay. Because when you are struggling with broken consciousness, it makes you weak for the very men that constantly reject you. So you're gonna go back to the same pool and think you're gonna catch a different fish, or think you're gonna get a different outcome. It's a slave conditioning. It's what Israel went through when God brought them out of Egypt, and he was bringing them through the wilderness, trying to get them to the promised land, but their psychology kept pulling them back to Egypt. They kept making statements about, you know, in Egypt we had this. God's trying to make them kings, but their mindset is pulling them back to slavery. There was something appealing about slavery that would not allow them to appreciate the blessings of new opportunities and new levels. And when you're struggling with broken consciousness, it makes you weak for men that reject you. You always want the kind of man that is not available. Or actually, you can flip this thing. It's the same thing for men. You always want that woman that's not available. Speaking of Israel, if you look in Exodus 14 and 12, it says, is not this the word that we did tell thee in Egypt? They're fussing with Moses, saying, let us alone that we may serve the Egyptians. They wanted it. We told you, leave us alone. We don't need to be kings. We just want to be slaves. For it had been better for us to serve. And notice how they're dressing it up. Talking about serve the Egyptians. They were slaves. It had been better for us to serve the Egyptians than that we should die in the wilderness. That's where their mindset was. And they dressed it up to make it look pretty. And sometimes when you're struggling with broken consciousness, You are weak for the men that reject you. Now, why am I talking about this? It's because somebody needs to bring this to the forefront of your thinking so that you can begin to step outside of your situation and take an objective look at your behavior. Because at the end of the day, nothing changes until you do, and no one can change anything for you. You will have to make changes for yourself. And then number 4, and finally, when you're struggling with broken consciousness, how it sabotages potentially good relationships, is it makes you angry. Watch this. Sometimes it makes a woman angry with everything male while praying incessantly for a man. That's the thing that gets me, is those of you that say, ain't no man good, no man, every man is a dog and ain't no man good, but you on every platform that a man is talking about, you know, how to recover from all of the drama that bad men have put you through. You're on every platform that somebody's talking about, you know, dating and how to overcome this and overcome that. And you're on all these platforms talking about all men are dogs, ain't no man, I don't want nothing to do with no man. That's all you pray about. That's all you emailing about. Some of y'all in the comments talking about ain't no man, oh man, I got your email. You want a man. But see, that broken consciousness now creates within you this conflict. You know, you have not come to terms with the fact that you were broken by a certain type of man. And watch this. Here's a harder truth for you to swallow. You chose him over and over and over again. And so you're eliminating the fact that there are different types of men. But the reason you're eliminating that fact is because subconsciously you don't want the kind that don't bite. And so now your broken consciousness bails you out by saying, all men are dogs, I don't like no man, I don't want nothing to do with no man, I'm done with men. Well, if you almost asked the question now. Let me leave that alone. That ain't my business. But that ain't true. You angry with everything male, but you praying all the time for a man. And your broken consciousness because you won't take responsibility for your part in it. Number one, you have to acknowledge that, yes, society conditioned me this way. Yes, the absence of a father put me in this place. Yes, having no male, guidance in my life, put me in a place where I did not understand how to interact in a perverted, male-dominated society. And yes, all of these things happen. And yes, I was conditioned. And yes, I made these mistakes. And yes, I made these choices. So now I'm going to chill and I'm going to allow the Spirit of God to purge my soul. Because at the end of the day, I'm not an angry person, and I don't really believe that all men are dogs. I just believe that I've had some bad breaks and I've made some bad choices. And so I'll leave that alone. But this is what's been kind of circulating through my spirit relative to you, because my aim is to really help you to at least be a launching pad to healing. As I always say, I'm no counselor, I'm no therapist, but I believe I can have conversation with you that can kind of springboard you into a different way of living and thinking, and ultimately bring you to this place where you have this healing conversation like Jesus had with the woman at the well. And when he got through having that conversation with her, This woman was so empowered, she ran into the city and told all the men, come see a man. This is in a time when a woman's words were not respected by men, but she was so driven and so impactful that they were influenced by her. That's where I want to get you to a place where you actually become whole. Yeah. To a place where you actually feel fulfilled in and of yourself, and that you develop a healthy perspective on life so that you're open to good things, and that you lose this mindset that all's wrong with the world. You have people all around you that are experiencing the best life has to offer, but you will never be able to experience beyond your dominant mindset. You will never experience life beyond your dominant mindset. And so I'm working on, what do I work on here? I'm working on your mindset. I'm trying to help you shift your mindset. Everybody want to level their money up, but you got to level your thinking up. If you're going to attract the greater aspects of wealth, which are not money, but joy and peace and fulfillment, contentment and identity, you got to level your mindset up. And so let me pray for you. Father, I thank you for this message that you have clearly poured into my heart. God, I ask you now to just move upon the hearts of every person watching this. Those that may feel, Father, like it's hopeless, like, those that are believing the lies about age and size and all of this other stuff, and they're defining themselves by these temporal factors. God, help them to understand that they're greater than that, and that you have a great plan for them, and that no man has the right to define them, label them, or grade them. But God, they are who you say they are. And God, help them now to find healing for their souls. Help them now. In Jesus' name, amen. I hope you've been blessed by this. Hope you didn't get too angry with me. I know I said some things, but I have to help you to see. I have to help you to see in the most loving way I possibly can. Now, listen, don't forget to stop by my website, rcblakes.com, and sign up for my email list. Don't forget to register for Kingology, happening October the 10th. Don't forget to register for QUEENOLOgy, the second part of 2.0, the training for reigning. And just, of course, stop by Amazon, pick up any or all of my books. All of these things empower Lisa and I to be able to do everything that we do. Yeah, all of these things empower us to do everything that we do. I thank you, all of you that give, super chatting. Man, that means the world to me. I can't tell you how much that means the absolute world to me. And I'm so grateful. I do not take that lightly. I take that very seriously. In fact, about it, I wish there were a way that I could communicate with you directly when I come back and I see all of you that have done that. But YouTube is not given me that ability. That's why I need you to go to my website and to sign up for my mailing list, because you're not officially in my community until you're on my database. If YouTube shut down today or tomorrow, I would not know how to locate you. But if you're on my mailing list, I am able to communicate with you. You're then officially in my community. So I love you. I thank God for you. And just know that Lisa and I are praying for you. And again, if you need counseling, there's a link in the description for better help. God bless you. I thank you again for tuning in, and remember this, you are on top and you're going higher. God has more in store for you. I'll talk to you next time.